Wait for it. One. Oh, hello everybody, and welcome to the Tort Snuffers. I am your host, Colin Connors. With me, as always, is my wonderful co-host slash Latina flavor, Alicia Garza.
Hello.
Also joining us today, the very beautiful Stephen Lehman.
Well, thank you, Colin.
That one girl from Canada, Elise Anderson.
Hi.
And our podcast's favorite Survivor player, the one, the only, Billy Garcia. Woo!
Hey, everybody.
Oh my goodness, guys, we have so much to talk about. It was an amazing episode, and I think all of us had reserves about this season going into it, seeing as it was hyped up as this, hey, this is the season where everybody dies. But it's turned out to be extremely interesting, lots of great editing, so much stuff happened tonight. I mean, Nick got voted out. Who saw that coming? I actually kind of didn't. But before we do all of that, I want to do a little bit of house cleaning. So for all the viewers slash listeners out there, we do have a contest where fans of the show get to pick who they think is going to win. And if they are correct, they win free stuff. They win a Nerf football. They win some swag that Alicia has. They win some stuff that Billy has. And actually, we still have a bunch of players left. So if you're interested, all you need to do is comment to this YouTube video below, or comment on the Facebook page, or send us an email. Just tell us which player you think is going to win that's still in. And we still have Aubrey, Joe, Sydney, Scott, and Julia left. As in, you just got to send us an email saying one of those names. And if that person wins, you get a whole bunch of free stuff. So participate is your chance to show how much smarter you are than all of us. Because I think all of our winner picks are out, right? Besides Steven.
Yeah, as a fan of our podcast, can I email you? Because Liz will be dead.
You cannot. Because I picked Jennifer, she's out. Alicia picked Liz, she's out. Billy picked, you picked Peter, he's out. Elise, you picked Nick. Nick morning tonight. Nick is out. So fans, show us how much smarter than you are than us. Okay.
Can we also comment that I have Michelle, and Michelle is still in?
You know what, Steven? You know what, Steven? Now is not the time. Now is not the time. That's going to come later.
We're in mourning. We're in mourning.
We're in mourning over Nick, okay?
Okay, Venus.
All right. Ooh. Venus,
that was rough.
I had Venus and Jennifer, but I also had Keith and Wu, so
yeah, That's true. I had PG last season, so I didn't do much better.
Exactly. But actually, you know what? This is kind of a big picture ideal, and I am going to start off by saying, Steven, last time I was on, you commented how you like this season more than Cambodia.
Yes.
I still disagree with that statement, but I want to bring Billy in on this. How do you like this season overall, and do you kind of agree with my sentiments that it's way, way better than what we thought it was going to be?
Yeah, I think all this talk about everybody dying on this season kind of lowered expectations, and with those lowered expectations, we got a pretty good season, and so that pretty good season feels like a great season because we didn't think a whole lot was going to happen this season. And even though nobody died tonight, we had an ego get killed.
That's true. Alicia,
puffed up head, get chopped right off.
Chopped right on off. But I think part of what makes this season great, though, is the editing, because we are getting actually pretty balanced stories from, I want to say, everyone besides Julia and Joe. I feel like everyone else is getting fleshed out. Yes, some are getting fleshed out more than others, but that's just the nature of the show to begin with. And the first thing I want to talk about, and I want to go with you, Alicia, is the very first thing we saw when it was after previously on Survivor. We saw Scott being kind of an asshole, along with Jason being kind of an asshole, saying things like, oh, we're glad Neil's gone. But then later in the episode, Scott actually got some good screen time talking about his family, and Jason also got tons of good screen time talking about his daughter. What are the editors trying to do to us?
I don't know. I think they're maybe trying to show us why they either lose once they get to Final Tribal Council or why they maybe deserve to win once they get there, because they have this one kernel of nice, sad sob story from back home.
But we're seeing them as jerks in every other moment, and they're getting a lot of humanization through the edit. Elise, did you want to chime in on this?
Yeah, I posted this on our group chat, but I feel like they had more sympathetic episodes this week just so that the douche spotlight was on Nick for his whole blow-up to, get voted out, where we needed to kind of forget about how much of a douche Scott and Jason are for a bit, and so then next episode they can come back and be hiding all this stuff or whatever they talked about. But
so you think I'm just reading the tea leaves, so to say, that I'm overemphasizing the little bit of good screen time they're getting?
No, I think it is. It is important to point out, but I'm just saying that it might be a little bit to do with just putting the douche spotlight on Nick so that when they're talking about how arrogant he is and how terrible he is, we're not like, oh, well, Scott and Jason are worse. Like,
Which they are.
That's a fair point. Billy, you want to chime in on this? All right, did you want to chime in?
I agree. I agree with Elise, and I think it was a little bit of misdirection. It was a lot of Survivor lately. It does a lot of look at my left hand while the right hand does the work, and that's the one that's gonna be the vote out. And so that's kind of what I felt the edit was doing, was a lot of okay, you've been focusing so hard on Jason and Scott. Let's take them down a notch, and then put the spotlight on Nick. And then when Nick goes out, everybody watching at home will be like, yeah, that's out.
And that's fair. And I guess the first thing, I'm just going to poll the room real quick. Does anyone here actually think Scott or Jason can win?
No.
Yeah, so we also
not unless they're in the final two together.
I think maybe depending on how Jason uses his idol, and if he was like to really humble himself in an FTC while showing that he had control, but can also like be an actual human instead of like this overlord, I think he has a shot.
Yeah, that's about the only thing I see with Jason.
So like,
but that's a huge if, because I don't see him doing
it. It would be like a Jason Julia final tribal council or a Jason Scott final tribal council.
No, Jason like Joe.
Yeah, no, I think Joe would win.
Oh, Joe, he's a 72-year-old ex-FBI agent.
But he's been invisible the entire game.
Well, we know that, but the players don't see that.
So, yeah, I could see this very small smidgen chance. I would say Jason has as much chance to winning as Bernie Sanders does. That's where I would. That's where I would put it at. Okay, so. It's got the whole internet mad at me. All right, so. The next thing that we saw that I thought was extremely interesting was right after Jason got this confessional about his daughter, Sydney was the one to say, ooh, maybe he's just politicizing this for his game, which normally saying something like that would be like a huge editing no-no. It would be foreshadowing something. However, it seemed like they were using this small moment to give Sydney a bigger edit. Like, I guess just wonder what is going on with her, what's going on with their character, because I said from the beginning she was more than meets the eye. You guys kind of dismissed that, but now what's going on? All right, Steven.
I don't remember that being the case.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I will play the video back.
I remember you saying that she was going to be a character, but nothing more. And I was talking about how well-rounded she was and how she was a serious contender. And so I chose her first for our fantasy team.
I think about episode.
I think history is getting rewritten a little bit.
Anyways.
I think with Sydney, they're definitely trying to flesh her out as something more than meets the eye, because I mean, we saw later on, I guess we'll get to that scene with the whole Jason commentary, but they're definitely showing her as a lot more astute than anyone ever really gives her credit for. So I like Sydney a lot. So.
And it's interesting how you pointed out that they're showing her as more astute than anyone gave her credit for, when in fact she did have that confessional last episode, or maybe the episode before that, where she was saying, everyone always thinks I'm dumb, I'm just going to play dumb. So she very much is really good at playing the wolves in sheep's clothing. Elise, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I think the editors are trying to tell us that she has a big role to play and she's in all these interesting situations, but compared to a lot of the other people, like the Debbies of the world, she doesn't seem to give that good confessional. She doesn't seem to go over the top. She explains things how they are and how she sees it, but that's about it. So I think her editing's kind of confusing because they want to show more of her, but maybe she's not just giving them the sound bites that they want. But we do need to hear her side because she's in the middle of so much.
Mm-hmm. I actually thought she did really well tonight with her confessionals.
I agree.
Yeah, but I gotta say, I think you might have hit the nail on the head, Elise. Billy, did you want to chime in? Because I actually kind of want to give Elise a few claps because she might have just summed up the problem we were seeing with her.
Yeah, I agree as well. I also think that with Sydney, she spent a lot of time laying low, and when you lay low, there's nothing to show. Mm-hmm. You're trying not to draw attention to yourself.
Right.
So that's part of it.
Especially on a tribe with Jason, Scott, and Alicia, all who are big characters, she just kind of faded from the spotlight, even though she does seem to have like a lot of good things going on for her.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. And I guess that we could almost draw a similar parallel to Michelle, because she's now someone who seems to be kind of breaking through the mold, and it seems to be coming somewhat out of nowhere, but maybe it's just because she was hiding behind Caleb and Ty and the other beauties. Does anyone want to comment on Michelle's game? Alicia, I haven't heard from you in a while. Are you still okay? How's Michelle? You want to talk about Michelle?
I don't know anything about Michelle. I haven't, like, I was going to say she's one of the other people that hasn't been fleshed out alongside Joe and Julia, so.
Well, I guess what I would say about Michelle is she's not getting that much kind of family-style confessionals, but she is getting a lot of, like, controlled personality confessionals, kind of like how she talked about, Nick loves me, but I kind of could care less about him, that kind of stuff. Steven, did you want to be our Michelle expert since Ty's not here?
I think Michelle is definitely a character who's going to be important to the long-term storylines of Kaôh Rōng. I think it might be a situation similar to Sydney, where she is in the middle, she is a very key player, she just may not be giving the best sound bites.
All right. Very good. Okay, so we've talked about some of those players. I do want to talk about the reward challenge. Billy, I know you've seen this challenge before, and my question to you is this. Do you remember the last time they ran this challenge? What they did was they just had a player stand on the pole, and everyone just carried the pole. They didn't actually use the other pole. Why didn't they try it this time? Because to me, once you know about that Survivor hack, and apparently you know Aubrey's a Survivor fan, you would want to do that every single time you did the challenge.
They also did that on my season as well, where one tribe did what we saw, or the two poles interchanging, and the other tribe did the one pole where they carried across.
Yeah,
and the tribe that did the one pole won. I agree with you, but that really does fall down onto the people holding the pole, because what was going wrong with Aubrey and Sydney and all the people falling on that tribe had nothing to do with the women on the pole. It had everything to do with the people holding it that couldn't hold it without slanting. When you slant the pole, especially when they're trying to distribute their weight to the next pole, it's certain death. And I kept seeing, and the surprising thing was that it was Jason. It was Jason that kept having it slant his way. It wasn't. You'd think it would have been like someone like Ty, who's a little tiny dude. But no, of all people, it was Jason that just couldn't hold the pole straight up. So I don't blame the women on this, and
I do.
You blame the women?
No, I'm just being a Nick. All right, continue.
I was just gonna say one of the things that we never see on this challenge that anymore that we've seen in the Cook Islands was the strategy of at the very end where you all have to stand on that last podium together. Like the best strategy is for everybody to put one foot on, and then everybody all of a sudden lift their back foot, and then 1, 2, 3, that's it, you're done. While your back foot is in the air. So
it looks like they didn't do their homework. It looks like these Survivor players, these Survivor fans, didn't do it. Because, especially if you're Julia's group, Scott could have just carried that pole with Julia on top of it, and that could have been game over. Go ahead, Steven.
We also have to remember, Colin, it's day 18, 19 in the middle of Cambodia, and they're surrounded by fatigue and all that. So I give them a little more credit with not remembering how things went down in Micronesia and Cook Islands, only because, it seems like it's pretty hellish there.
I was just wondering if maybe they changed the rules this season, because if we just see people carrying one person across on a pole, it's not really riveting television. And I know, Billy, you can probably attest to that don't they go through with the survivors, they explain the challenge in more depth as they run through it? Maybe they were like, oh yeah, by the way, you need to use both poles, or both feet need to touch the thing, or something like that.
Yeah, real quick, Billy.
Yeah, there's an exhaustive rules explanation that goes on for about 45 minutes before the actual challenge, and then we get to ask questions, but we pull Jeff aside. We actually go for a walk when you have a question, so that nobody else can hear the question and the answer, and the event that it has something to do with strategy. On my season, I asked if I could unlatch myself from the group. So that I can just run ahead and do the challenge, and they were like, "No, you got to stay latched on." And I asked several questions. I asked, I'm not gonna go into too much detail because I'll bore the hell out of you. But
and when you come back for second chances, you need to keep all your cards close together.
Right, yeah. But I was one of the bigger question askers.
I feel
I
like
think
I would
I
want to ask
totally ask at least one question every single challenge, just so I could be like, "Hey Jeff, it's you and me time." Like,
And Jeff is just
so
like, oh my
excited for,
god.
like, one approach time.
Jeff's like, oh my god, this girl. How is she not voted out yet? I will say this, Elise, that is a very logical answer. I'm going to choose to ignore it, and I wanted to point out, Steven, if I was starving to death, I would still be thinking of Survivor because I'm that dedicated. So Aubrey needs to get her junk together. But
Don't talk about Aubrey like that.
we are going to talk about Aubrey, me and you, real quick. Okay,
I love
Aubrey
her.
was getting the Holly Hoffman edit, but once again tonight we saw her crying, and even though she is currently in the majority alliance,
Minority.
I personally don't think it's going to last long. Steven, is Aubrey have a shot at winning this game? What would her path to victory look like?
I think she has a shot up to like 6 or 5. I think once she hits 6 or 5, she's got to be an immunity hoe, which I hope she can do because I am in love with her and all that. But like, I hope she can do it. I just don't see her winning, which makes me really upset. But you know,
I see her and Debbie having a shot so long as they stay on the same page.
yeah.
They have to take out all the dudes. Like this next episode, like Scott or Jason has to go. No question about it.
But that super owl is really going to complicate things, Billy. So I guess what I want to ask, though, and I'm going to keep this on you, Billy, even though I'm saying Aubrey's edit looks like a Holly Hoffman type edit, she looks like someone that's not going to fully go to distance. If she was Bernie Sanders, I would say she's not going to get enough delegates no matter how many more states he wins. I had to keep making those jokes. Who could be getting that edit? Because what we've been saying is people like Scott and Jason, they've been getting these kind of like, two-folds edit. Who is actually getting a more winner-like edit than Aubrey? Or at this point, do winners' edits not even matter?
Oh my God, Tai, obviously.
I was going to talk to Billy, but then I'll throw it to you.
Okay.
Who's getting the winner's edit?
No, I don't think there is a winner's edit in the last few seasons. I think we hear so much of it on the internet that I believe like Survivor's become very conscious of the fact that they've been tipping their hand a little too much in past seasons. But at the same time, I do think that there's Aubrey has a chance, but I'm not saying that she's gonna win. I'm just saying that there's a way for her to win. I'm still gonna go with Tai. That she's gonna win.
Good. And I was gonna make another Bernie Sanders joke, but I'm not going to. Does Tai actually? Would people let Tai get to the finals? Steven, chime in.
Well, I was going to say two things. One, obviously, no one would let Tai get to the end. I mean, everyone loves him. But second, I feel like if we did have a Tai win, I feel like Probst would be hyping up the season a lot more. But maybe that's just me because Probst during Worlds Apart was like, this winner is like a top 10 winner in terms of like ability. So we know Probst loved Mike. And I feel like Tai is also one of those Probst favorites where if he did win, there'd be a lot more fanfare surrounding it. So as much as I love Tai, I don't see him winning for both of those reasons. The fact that no one would be dumb enough to let him get to the end, and Probst would be a lot more high on the season, I feel like.
But maybe he wouldn't need to get to the end by letting people or having people let him get there because he just won immunity tonight.
That's true.
So
And
maybe he can immunity his way there when he needs it.
And let's go ahead and let's talk about that giant, small, tiny elephant Asian winning immunity in the room. And that was just how amazing this immunity challenge was. It was great. It was like watching Bernie Sanders win Michigan. No one expected it, and he came back at the very end and took victory away from Sydney. Okay.
So Sydney is Hillary Clinton in this?
Yeah, in this one, because no one expected Tai to win.
No, I know. I just wanted to clarify to make sure.
Hillary never looked that good.
Oh my God.
Is that our episode title? I think that is. Hillary never looked that good.
Tai just be Tai and Sydney just be Sydney in this Survivor analogy?
Yeah. I was gonna say I had a comment there when Tai was praying to Buddha. I was like, oh shit, Buddha, and then I was like, oh shit, Buddha jinxed Sydney. Like Buddha totally came down and like made Sydney fall. Like.
And if we're gonna go this inappropriate, I want to point out many survivors have said they thought God was gonna help them win. Matt Elrod, coach, and it turns out Buddha helped Tai win. So I'm just pointing that out. I'm playing that. Okay. Anyways,
they are in that part of the world, though. They are in the right place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So really, just from a viewer standpoint, let's just talk about how fulfilling that was to watch Ty win and just how motivating it was. And then we even saw Ty and Sydney hug afterwards, and it was so gracious. And that's one of the things we love about Survivor. Anyways, Billy,
Yeah,
I just want to hear your
Ty-
feelings on it.
Yeah, first of all, I think Sydney had a great poker face in that she was a lot worse off than she let on. She was definitely in a lot worse pain. Ty, he's playing it right. His sportsmanship is going to win the jury votes if he gets there. And if the douchebag apocalypse happens, which I think is happening, we're 2 douchebags down with 2 to go.
Yeah.
That means right. That means that Ty is going to be up against just about just women and Joe as far as immunity challenges go. And if they take out Sydney, then who's going to beat Ty in immunity challenges? Plus, he has an idol. So it's looking really good for Ty the way that things are lining up. I'm not gonna say he's got his ducks in a row just yet, but man, I think he's got the most daylight out of everybody left in the game.
And you know what? What I was about to say, Billy, was about how I'm not so sure that a Super Idol is not going to get played.
Ugh.
But I want to talk about something that I don't know who noticed this. Tonight at Tribal Council, there was Alicia, did you want to say something?
Yeah, so
Go ahead real quick.
Okay, so about the challenge, I actually had a quick question about it, which is a question I would have asked Jeff Probst had I been in it today. So their feet on the platform, could they lift up one foot to give that foot a rest, or was it any foot that came off like you were done?
I don't think it was you could lift one up, Billy.
Yeah, Billy.
Yeah, I heard the instructions clearly say if you one of your hands come off or one of your feet come off, you're out.
Okay.
So now that's out of the way, I'm going to go back to my dramatic setup to what I have. I don't know how people notice this, but tonight's Tribal Council, there was a stray vote from Jason. And that vote came from
Not
Ty.
from Jason, for Jason.
Yeah, for Jason, and that vote came from Ty. Now, what I had been thinking in my head was that next episode a Super Idol would be played. But guess what? Scott doesn't have an idol, only Jason does. So a Super Idol can't save Jason and Scott. So we might actually see that douchebag apocalypse you guys are talking about. Because in my head, when you guys are saying that, I was like, no, there's no way that's going to happen because they have a Super Idol. Not if Ty flips. Now, why did Ty cop out and vote for Jason and not Nick? What was the logic in that, Elise?
Well, this is something I wanted to say earlier when we were all talking about Ty getting to the end and he's going to do so great, is that the thing that worries me about Ty's game is will he have the killer instinct to get rid of the people he needs to get rid of? And I think this could have just been, I don't really like Nick's my beauty, I don't really want to vote for him, I'll just throw a random vote for Jason, whatever, he has immunity, no one's going to touch Ty anyway. I think Ty's game actually will get better if he's in the minority because then he can win, he can use his idol, he can win immunities, he can vote people out because he's in the vulnerable position, he's not like in charge of choosing who goes. But yeah, I love Ty and I hope he makes it to the end and wins. I think he will have a great shot against the jury, but I don't know if he has what it takes to cut people at the right time to get there.
But I guess what I would say is, though, by Ty voting for Jason, does that just completely sever that tie? Because Jason doesn't seem like the kind of person that's going to go, oh, you voted for me, that's fine. What happens with that, Alicia?
So I have a theory about why Ty voted for Jason, and I'm really hoping it's like next level crazy strategy going on in Ty's mind. He was trying to say that to Julia that like, oh, well, someone told me about the Super Idol. Am I being lied to? I don't know. So by voting for Jason, maybe he's trying to say, hey, this is exactly who I think might have just lied to me about a Super Idol being played, and now I'm paranoid, and now I don't feel like I trust him because what if I'm being played? So
nice one, Alicia. Nice one. I was thinking that the Ty was backpedaling a lot once he let the cat out of the bag, but now that you point that out, there's a chance of that. Yeah, I think Ty is pretty much, by putting that out there, is guaranteed that there's not going to be a Super Idol played. Because he just why let the cat out of the bag if that's really your strategy? Why tell somebody of what you're gonna do?
Well, and and voting against Jason, I just don't see Jason working with Ty again in any legitimate enough capacity where Ty would feel comfortable and actually forming the Super Megatron Ultra Idol.
unless Scott would have to do a lot of work of damage control to get that. But at this point, what are their options, really? If the Girls' Alliance is going forward, maybe Jason would go ahead and be like, I hate this, I hate that you voted against me, but this is really our only shot.
Okay, so
Well,
I guess...
go
ahead, Billy.
I was just going to say, just real quick, here's what I think is going to happen. I think Jason and Scott are going to be on their own with this whole starving the women out. And you know how Tai is such a pacifist and such a do-gooder, for lack of a better term, that he wouldn't be on board with something like that, starving women. So, I think that's going to sink their boat even more with Tai.
See, and I actually think the exact opposite. I'm saying right now that I think that Girls' Alliance is going to crumble immediately next episode, and I think it's going to be an Aubrey or Debbie. And part of the reason why I think that is that if Sydney really wanted to make moves against the Jason-Scott alliance, I think she would have actually done the killer instinct and grabbed one of those two out then, because she knows that they're a threat and she knows that they're in control, but she wasn't willing to play that card. She was only willing to get out Nick because Nick's a douche.
But no, I think she's also she's willing to keep Jason and Scott because she has some ties to them. Still, I mean, it's better to take out of that group of three. You want to take out the person you're least connected with.
Yeah, that would have been crazy for her to take out Scott.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to say is that because
she's so tight.
Well, but she's still in the middle. That's what I'm saying. I don't think she's fully aligned with those girls yet.
Well, because she wants to keep her options open.
Yeah, I don't think the guys would be on board with what Sydney just pulled.
Yeah.
Especially Jason, who's always butthurt about just about anything.
Well, it was, and I guess that goes along with what we were saying about Jason not liking Tai. And having to suck up is I do think Jason's going to try to suck up. And I just think, I don't know, there's something about this Girls' Alliance that feels to me just rushed, and I think it's going to explode on itself. And you know what? If I happen to have egg on my face next week because Jason or Scott's gone, so be it. But I'm going against the majority, and I'm saying the Girls' Alliance is actually going to implode.
I mean, even if it implodes, I still say that Joe and Tai, who are the two oldest, are on the outside.
Yeah.
And they're separate from Jason and Scott. So I still think that that we got three different factions, basically, is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And so what if the Women Alliance explodes? A couple of women could defect to Joe and Tai.
Well, and the thing that was most interesting to me, though, is Julia did get a random confessional in tonight's episode being like, Scott's so great. I love Scott. And Scott's like, eating ice cream, being all gross, and he's like, hey, I have a family. And Julia's like, I want to work with Scott. So that makes me think that that's where she would go in this kind of factions breaking up when the Girls' Alliance does.
And that's kind of what we see in the preview for next week, that she's still buddy-buddying with Scott and the guys and also buddy-buddying with the girls. So it'll kind of be interesting to see where she ends up falling, or if the trap door falls out under her.
Yeah.
I think that's a possibility. I could see everyone agreeing on her in a much like a Dolly-like situation for Vanuatu. Steven, you wanted to chime in?
I was just going to comment real quick. I think if there is a brain that goes next week, I think Sydney would do her best to make sure it's Joe, because it checks two boxes. It gets out a guy, and it gets out a brain. So she does still have Aubrey and Debbie around as two bigger targets, but if she needs to utilize them to further her own game, she has that option available.
And I think that's a very good point. I do think Sydney is playing a great game. Mm-hmm. So we've talked about just about everybody. Oh, no, we haven't. Nick, the man of the hour. Elise, you know what?
The pretty girl of the hour.
Yeah, the pretty girl of the hour. Elise,
yes.
Just talk about how much you love Nick. Go ahead, let's get it out of your system, and then we're going to massacre his gameplay because he was doing pretty decent, and then he did horrible. But anyways, at least talk about his hair or his strong jawline or whatever it is that you see in him.
No, I just love Nick because, out of all the douchebags, he's, the fun, arrogant douche. The douche who has the, I'm so great, I'm controlling everything. You see the obvious setup, he obviously falls, and everyone has a great time about it. It's not like the Scott and Jason thing or, the Dan Foley thing where, they're bullying people and everyone feels awful about it. It's like the Drew Christie, everyone, thinks he's on top of the world and then he, belly flops. I don't know. I love Nick. I think he's a great character. I wish we could have seen more of him, but
yeah.
I think we got it just enough of Nick.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
And anyone Everyone should have checked out the Rob Has a Podcast April Fool's joke. One of the other writers wrote an entire article as Nick and was pretty funny.
Okay, so besides being a great character, Nick was actually in a pretty good position in the merge, and he seemed like he was doing pretty good at playing both sides. But he lacked the self-awareness to not immediately get up and talk to Julia in front of Sydney and everyone else, which was mind-boggling bad. He
I
lacked
think
the
the
self-awareness
worst
to not...
part...
Go ahead.
Sorry. I thought the worst part was just that he gave up the card so early when they're like, oh yeah, well obviously your brain is going home.
Yeah,
like everyone knows that.
Yeah, well, and then his talk where he's telling Aubrey, yeah, you know, if I was you, I would definitely vote Debbie because it's either her or you, and we're gonna split the vote. He's telling his whole plan to Aubrey, and I'm like, this is why you're a douchebag.
Well, I guess what I want to know is, but hold on, it's really easy for us service level to just go, Nick's a douchebag, but I want to know what do you guys think he was thinking when doing that? I'm like, is he trying to win jury votes? Is he trying to maybe use her later? Like, what exactly?
Yeah, options for later.
Like, hey, she's sticking around, so I want her to stick around and be in my corner instead of against me. I think Nick had all of like the right ideas and zero of the finesse needed to pull them off.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I agree.
You sure it wasn't Nick just being, haha, look at me, everybody look at me, everybody at home, watch me control this game, see how I own everybody. I'm the best. I'm the best ever.
Oh yeah, I think that definitely had a lot to do with it. He was like, I'm the shot caller, like.
Well, anyways, Nick did get his comeuppance. So, with all of that being said, I think we did a pretty good job of thoroughly dissecting this episode. What's hilarious is that we all sit around and thoroughly dissect an episode, and we kind of have no idea what's going to happen next. And that's one of the good things about this season, because, I mean, I think it's a possibility we get a Julia boot next episode, but literally nothing would super surprise me. And I know you guys are hoping to see a Jason or a Scott boot, so when I come on here next week, you can go, shame on you, Colin, and I'm just going to go... And I'm going to go, well, I never said that. I don't know what you're talking about. And then we're going to move on. So, before we wrap things up tonight, I do want to talk to Billy one-on-one. Billy, from what I understand, you are organizing money for a charity, Reality for Diabetes. Can you tell us more about this?
Yeah, the charity is called Reality for Diabetes, and the fundraiser, all the money goes directly to the Juvenile Diabetes Research Fund, which is a hospital in Cincinnati, Ohio, that is at the forefront of the battle against type 1 diabetes. And they feel like they're very close to a cure, but they have some more research to do. So I'm fundraising. So go on to my social media, any one of my social medias, and you'll get the link to my fundraiser. And like I said, it has my name and picture on it, but all the money goes directly to the charity, to the Juvenile Diabetes Research Fund.
And we are going to have a link to this in the box below the description for this YouTube video, and we're going to post it on the Facebook page and on our wonderful website. So not only do you guys need to sign up for our winner pick contest because you'll get free stuff, you also need to donate to Reality for Diabetes because honestly it's a great charity and it's a great way to spend your time and money. Should I make one with Bernie Sanders joke? It's more.
No.
It's money
super
better
exciting
spent.
that they're close to a cure for diabetes, and this might be like the final push that they need to get there. It's super awesome,
and Alicia
it would be so cool to be a part of that.
And Alicia is showing me off before I say it's money better spent than donating it to Bernie Sanders.
Oh.
Anyways,
I will say this before you close up. Everybody that donates $20 gets an autographed 8x10 that I'll send them directly. Everybody that donates $40, I will do a one-on-one 15-minute Skype telling you how to get on Survivor.
And just for all you listeners who I haven't even had that one-on-one with Billy. Billy's just like, yeah, sure, whatever, Colin, you'll get on Survivor. Pat you on the head. Anyways, I want to thank everybody so much for coming on. I want to thank Steven, Elise, Alicia, and I want to thank the wonderful Billy Garcia for joining us. And I want to thank everybody for watching/listening to us. And be sure to donate. Have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.